So I want to talk a little bit about dents. Throughout the last several videos, I've talked about how bucking bars will dent, or if you do something incorrectly, you could cause a dent. And I think a lot of people are looking at the wing surface and they're seeing these slight wavy imperfections in the skin, and they're thinking those are all dents. That's not what I'm referring to. In fact, the wing, because it's all silver right now, because there's no paint on it right now, the dents that you might be thinking I'm talking about, that waviness of the wing, is actually perfectly normal. I have yet to see one that didn't have those slight wavies, especially right at the point where the rivet is put in. That's not what I'm referring to as a dent. And because it's silver, because there's no paint on it or anything like that, that wavy reflection is really exacerbated in the lens of a camera for whatever reason. If I walk up and I'm staring at my empennage right in front of me, I really don't notice any at all except for the one dent I see. Same thing on the wings. There's a dent that is actually a dent, and I'll take a picture of it and show it to you. But then there's also the little bit of a wavies that's just normal, and you don't even notice them at all. Some people have suggested that, oh, your pressure on your gun is too high, which is possible. Other people have said, oh, you didn't do I forget what it's called, the crimping correctly to straighten the ribs. Yes, I did. I'm sure there are ways to do the rivets that don't have that slight waviness, but I haven't figured it out yet. And I've seen a lot of planes through here that have the exact same thing. The majority of that goes away when you paint the plane. Because not only do you use paint, but you also use this, it's sort of like Bondo almost in some places. Like if there is a dent, they just put a little teeny smear of this stuff on there and it kind of hardens, and then they paint right over it and boom, it's gone. You don't even know it's there. So when I'm talking about dents, I'm talking about something entirely different. And you're welcome to come out here and I can actually show you the real dents or what I'm talking about. But for you, the plane maker, if you're making one of these planes and every single rivet has that just slight imperfection around it, that's not a dent. That could, by the way, lend itself back to the argument that we had a couple videos ago about the difference between the compression style dimpler and the impact style dimpler. And that's what people are saying. People are saying that the impact style dimpler provides a better dimple and you don't get that slight waviness. I'm not seeing that, but that's for a future video when we actually do an entire skin one way and an entire skin the other way. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there, give you guys an update, let you know that when I talk about dents, I'm talking about something entirely different. And when you're seeing me standing in front of a wing and I'm giving a video and you circle some things that you think are dents, they're not. And I can take all sorts of pictures and you'll still be like, I can see it. Yeah, but go stand in front of it and look at it. It looks different. It's, for whatever reason, it has to do with the camera lens and how you look at it and the reflection off of whatever. And you can kind of see that, hey, there's this weird, change in the reflection. So it really stands out, but it's not as egregious as it may seem. So hope that explains everything. Well, it's about a week later from when I filmed that previous little bit, and I thought I'd add a little addendum, and that is that one of the terms I use for that distortion effect, I say it's wavy looking. I think a better way to call that would be like pillowing around the rivet, and that's really, I think that's the magic. Like if you can figure out how to get that dimple to be perfectly flat, like it's just perfectly flat and then it dimples in, you've won. Mine look like they do that, but then it's obvious from this camera effect that there's ever so slightly a dimple inward before the dimple, if you mean. It kind of goes in, and that's there even if I have not done any riveting yet. So again, that might be the difference between the impact dimpler and the compression dimpler. It could also just be the dimple dies I have. That's the other thing, is I have noticed there are several there's many different dimple dies, and they work slightly differently. So maybe I should invest in a different set of dies. I don't know. Anyways, I just thought I'd add to that and then talk about something new. So while I continue to work in the background, I've had some people in the past, specifically around when I talked to my job situation and what I wanted to do for a living, talk to the fact that, or they asked the question that, have I considered building airplanes for a living? And a lot of people, they have this notion that, hey, you can buy a kit for, you know, 50 to 100 grand, or even all the way down to like 20 or 30 grand if you get like an older RV4, and turn around and sell it for, you know, wow, these incredible sums. I think I've thought about it. I've thought about that a lot, you know, doing the plane building thing professionally. And I think that there's things that y'all that ask that question may not be considering, or maybe there's things that I'm not considering, and I want to make this a two-way street conversation. But just numbers off the top of my head. So right now, let's say, you know, you work a regular job and you work 8 hours a day. And in your 8-hour day, let's say, just for easy numbers, you charge $25 an hour. So you work 8 hours a day. There's roughly 260 working hours, or working days rather, in a year, which means you're going to have more than 2,000 hours of income. At $25 an hour, 2,000 hours, that's roughly $50,000. Again, really rough numbers. Now for a plane. So if you look at the website, most of your RVs take roughly 2,000 hours to build. And while you're building it, so while you have that job, that day job where you're making $25 an hour, you have weekly income, or bi-weekly depending on where you get paid. Whereas with a plane, if you're doing that 2,000 hour stretch, while you're building it, you have zero income, right? Zilch, nada, nothing. You have no income. But I mean, so that's tough. You have no income while you're building it. And that means you're going to have some money set aside to take this endeavor on. And let's say you spend anywhere from $30,000 for like an RV3, rough guess, up to $130,000 for an RV-10, and that doesn't even include like all the high whiz-bang top-end stuff. You have no guarantee of what you're going to be able to sell it for. Let's say you sell it for 20% over what it cost you, or 30%, or even 50% over it cost you. The market is such that you have no idea, you know, how much money you're going to make. Whereas, again, back to that 8 hours a day, 260 working days at $25 an hour, you know exactly how much you're going to get. You know, let's say, you know, in America today, it probably costs roughly $30,000 a year. That's below the poverty line, but roughly $30,000 a year just to live, right? And that's an inexpensive house, inexpensive everything. I mean, that's living cheaply. And you're really not making all that much money off a plane, or at least you can't guarantee that you're going to make that much off of a plane because you just have no idea what you're going to be able to sell it for. Now, of course, like I said, these numbers are all off the top of my head. But it's one of those things where you don't know what the future is, right? My crystal ball, I cracked it years ago. It doesn't work for crap. But let's say you built an RV-8, right? RV-8A, all the sexy bells and whistles. It cost you $85,000 to build, $85,000 to $90,000 to build, roughly, according to the van's cost calculator, which most people say is a little low. So let's say it costs $90,000 to build. Right now, I just looked a bit ago, there are a couple on controller.com for $130,000. So you're making $40,000. I mean, and that's not even counting commissions and other things. So $40,000 for a year's worth of work, and that doesn't enter into consideration of things like how long will you hold on to the plane before you sell it. What if it doesn't sell? You know, where will you store it? You know, you got to put it in a hanger, right? You know, what if it takes you longer than a year? Anyways, I think the profit margins are much lower than people realize. I love the idea. I like the idea of you know, building something and selling it. Like that appeals to me greatly. But is the market there? You tell me. I mean, if you could buy a RV-9 or RV-10 or RV-12 for reasonably priced, but it's considerably more than building it, you know, what is the amount you would pay? You know, what would you pay for an RV-10 built the way you want it? What would you pay for an RV-8 built the way you want it, etc.? Is it something that there's actually a market for? And I think that's the real trick. That's the, you know, is there a market? Yes, but is it a market that is enough that you could make a comfortable living off of it? And again, that comfortable living is $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 range probably, even though, you know, I'm used to much more than that, but it's, you know, somewhere in there is probably where you're looking. And I don't know the answer to that. That's a very tough question. It's something I've considered, but I don't know that it's there. Oh, the other thing is, by the way, and we've talked about this in previous videos, at that point, you'd be turning a hobby into a career. And I don't know that this is a good hobby to career conversion, because you know, it's a lot of work to build these planes, especially as a single individual. And I don't know that would be fun. but anyways, I hope that answered your question around why I hadn't considered starting a company of just building airplanes. I have considered it. I'm still sometimes kicking it around. I think probably what I did is I bit off too much with regards to the 10 to do that with the 10. But you never know. I mean, in 2 years or whatever, I might turn around and sell this thing just to start the next build, because maybe the climate has changed by then. I don't know. So anyways, back to it. And finally, I'm going to close out this video by drilling out a rivet that I inadvertently set incorrectly. I previously spoke about this. If you put too much back pressure on, you'll actually push the rivet out ever so slightly just as the gun oscillates to give it the first good whack, and that's what happens, is it's out a little too far. And so now I'm just drilling it out, and you see me trying to keep the drill bit centered. No big deal, reset it, good to go. Anyways, thanks very much, everybody. If you guys, again, in the interest of, you know, keeping this as a conversation, if you guys disagree with anything that I've said in this video, you want to add to it, please do so down below. I promise to respond. I really love you guys. Thank you so much. Please click like down below. It helps my rankings. And if you really want to help, you can click over on the link over there and visit my Patreon page and subscribe for as little as $1 a month. It really helps. I know it's only $1, but think of it as just buying me a cup of coffee. It really lets me know that you guys are interested and you want to keep seeing this footage. Thanks.